Dear Liberal friends, congratulations. The VVD has never in history been as big as today.
That was Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte, whose Liberal Party got the most votes and seats in yesterday's general election. But he will still need to form a coalition, a process that could take months. Joining me now is Andre Crowell, Associate Professor at VU University in Amsterdam. Andrea, like most elections, domestic issues, namely the economy, were paramount, but can we say that this was a vote for Europe?
Well, I wouldn't say that, because I think the economy and Europe is so intertwined that you can't distinguish one from another. It's also very much about where do we cut expenditures, what kind of levels of taxation can we have. So it was, yes, it was national, but it was also European, because we need to solve the euro crisis within the European framework. And those parties that said, no, we can do it outside the European framework, we don't need the euro, we don't need the EU, they were punished severely in this election.
It's been quite a monumental week for Europe. We've had the ECB last Thursday, the German court ruling on the Eurozone Rescue Fund, and now this. What does this election do for the process of closer political union within Europe?
Well, I think that the two parties who are either anti-European, so Wilders PVV, and the more Eurosceptic Socialist Party, more to the left of the Labour Party, have clearly lost this election. People have not said, let's be more Eurosceptic. Clearly, the majority of Dutch voters want to solve the euro crisis within the European Union framework with the other European partners. And I think they've clearly have given the more moderate forces in the Netherlands now their trust. And so I think Labour and the Liberals need to form a lip-lap coalition, a purple coalition, in order to have a more centrist government than the previous minority right-wing government. And I think that will be a very constructive European coalition as well, because both parties have clearly stated over and over again that they want to remain into the euro. They don't want to break up the eurozone into two southern or northern euros, anything inside the European Union. Keep the euro, save the euro, and make sure that the euro crisis is solved.
I'll come to the coalition building process in a second, but just going back to those Eurosceptic voices within the Netherlands, I mean, what happens to them now? Where is their platform? Where is their outlet to get their voices heard?
Well, if you look at the data, you can see that the Dutch, although there's a small core of hard anti-European voices, most people who are skeptical about Europe are skeptical because they don't understand Europe. They don't know how it works, what it does, and why it intervenes in national politics and how far it can intervene. So it's more this sense of insecurity that people have about Europe. There's anxiety about what Europe does. But on the other hand, people also know that the Dutch cannot survive outside the European framework. It is a large economy, but it's not an internal market. We're an export country. So it's this dual feeling of we're a little bit anxious about the power of Europe, but at the same time we need Europe. And this sense, I think, it runs very deep into Dutch politics. And I think that the parties that have now suggested, okay, so yes, we're going to take things in our own hands. We're going to be strict towards the southern countries to get their finance in order. But at the same time, we need a stimulus package because we also need to get the economy going. Those parties, that message was heard. And the really anti-European parties have been punished.
OK, we'll talk more about this coalition and how it's going to be formed in a second. But first I want to play you a soundbite from Diederik Samsom. Of course, he's the leader of the Labour Party.
The Netherlands now needs a stable and strong government as soon as possible. Labour Party wants to cooperate with it as long as tonight's outcome will be mirrored in the making of the new government.
OK, you've heard what he had to say. He's obviously very keen to form a coalition. He would be, of course. He came second. But how likely is it that this forced marriage, if you like, will be a happy and stable one?
Well, first of all, the Labour Party, PvdA and the VVD have already governed together for 2 terms from 1994 to 2002. So it's not as if they're new to one another. Those were stable governments that finished a full term. And were also very successful in restructuring basically the Dutch economy after the very difficult times in the 1980s. So they can govern together, they can bridge their differences, although they are substantial and there has been polarization in the Netherlands. I think both have got a very clear message from left-wing and right-wing voters. We don't want fragmentation, we want a stable government that can sit there for 4 years, can at least make 3 clear budget, preferably 4, thank you very much, and then restructure the Dutch economy, because otherwise things are also sliding away here, and then we're in real trouble.
OK, but of course one might argue that the mid to late 90s, the economic climate was a bit more favourable. Just to finish up, when we spoke 2 weeks ago, you said this coalition building process may take into next year. It may take several months. What's your view on that now?
Well, it's still, of course, not crystal clear, although these two have been condemned to one another and there is no real right-wing majority or a real left-wing majority. So that means that it's going to be centrist because left and right have to govern together. There are several combinations possible, including Christian Democrats, CDA, and D66, a right-wing libertarian party. And they are needed in a very complex shape or form because the Labour Party and VVD may have a majority in one part of our parliament, the Tweede Kamer, but they don't have a majority in the Senate. So they need 2 of the other parties to also have a majority in the Senate in order to pass legislation.
OK, Andre, thank you very much. My thanks there to Andre Krauw from VU University in Amsterdam. I'm Jamie McGeever. This is Reuters.